And now, the reason we got out of bed this morning, for music and the spoken giggles, Singing Mama and Auntie B are our very own soulful duets.
Oh, that was lovely. First thing. And you're muted.
Oh.
You're muted. You're totally muted.
Me?
It was muted the whole time. How could you hear a cough in the mute?
No, it stopped muting.
It cheated. I pushed it. Anyway, hi. That was great.
Hello. Boosty boosters.
All
Chad
right.
had a bunch of messages this morning.
They're
and then
too money.
They disappeared.
He did too early.
I hate when the camera's like mirror imaged and it's like you're
right.
Yeah.
And then you like have to mix it, which one switch.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Hi, Todd. Welcome.
Hey.
Yay.
Forehead.
How you doing,
Jeez.
Toddly?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Howdy, boy.
Good.
Did anybody ever call you Toddy Boy?
I was called Toddler.
Toddler. That's awesome. I love that.
You were a toddler?
Odd Toddy.
Oddie Toddy?
Hottie Toddy.
Hottie Toddy?
Yeah, in college, I didn't mind that. So,
I said Oddie Toddy to begin with.
yeah, Oddie. I think that one. Well, so when I do the show, my name's actually Rockin' Odd Todd. So.
Rockin' Odd Todd. Rockin' Odd Todd on Songs of Verse.
So,
What? Try that again. What?
That's just what came out. I don't know what it was. Let's just go on.
it's like 10:30 there. You shouldn't be drinking yet.
I'm not.
Sometimes she hits it a bit early.
That's just normal.
Pandemic drinking, you know.
Yes.
So
So how are you ladies doing?
Good.
Good.
Well, how are you?
I'm going to see the endodontist today.
Yeah.
So I'm very nervous.
Jeez, I've got like some tooth stuff that I need done too, and I'm just putting it off. So.
Well, be
Oh
careful.
man, be careful. You could have a stroke.
It's true.
What?
It
I
can
had
go
a stroke
into
in
your blood.
December. I had a dentist who sealed in an infection, and it caused a whole mess of stuff.
Yeah.
So just be careful.
Really?
Really?
Geez, so like there was infection in there, and they closed it up inside of the tooth.
There was an abscess,
Oh,
and they
Just sealed it in
into
because
there.
he's lovely.
hey, I'm from Kentucky. Just take it. Just take the tooth. You know, I'm only gonna have 3 by the time I die anyway. So.
Then you
No,
will
I have fought hard for my teeth. What? You're nuts.
I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about us folks from Kentucky. We get along just
you
fine with
should
no
keep
teeth.
them. No.
What did she's a retired hygienist, right?
Yep, dental assistant.
Jacqueline?
Mhm.
Auntie.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I
was just
would
playing with the
like to
top.
have like a private, hygienist where like you just come to your house and do it, so you don't have to go in there for the whole. I don't know. It just gets scary going into those offices.
With the smell.
Yeah.
Finally. My phone is being dumb. I think
I'm glad it's undumbed now.
Oh, so it's not a smartphone.
It was
dumb.
totally being dumb.
Gotta love the dad jokes.
We do love the dad jokes.
White beards
I
and
do
dad
them.
jokes.
I do them, and I call them mom jokes. Even though most of them were like from my dad.
They're all
But my
dad
mom-
jokes. Doesn't matter who tells them.
They're a mom joke.
They're dad jokes.
Oh, you want to know my favorite? My kids hate my favorite joke.
Right on.
So, skeleton goes into a bar and asks for a beer and a mop.
Why?
That's the
Because
joke.
he's a skeleton, and he's drinking, and it's gonna spill everywhere. So then he has to mop it
Seriously.
up.
Seriously.
I'm so gonna tell my kids that one.
That is so not a joke.
I heard that the first time, and I laughed so hard that, well,
You laughed at that?
Yes.
Surgical assistant. Oh,
I'm
sorry.
happy for you.
She was a dental assistant and a surgery assistant.
Oh, come assist today.
Yeah, come assist. Nitrous, lidocaine, knock me out.
Yeah, I'm going to be sleeping with Prince Seroquel. Mm-hmm.
Dumb.
Dum, dum, dum. Had to change it since you stole it.
Steal it? We did it together.
Yeah.
Jacqueline.
It's good to see you, Dom, Tanika, Jacqueline, Moose, Jami.
See, Moose liked it. She got it.
Jami.
I was looking for a funny. It wasn't funny.
Now wait a minute, Dom. He said Jami.
Yeah, our cousin
3,
Jami.
and then he said Tanika. That's not my name.
Oh, you don't know that. He might look at you and go, Tanika. Right there, that's a Tanika. He's a Kentucky Tanika right there.
I do not, what's the word they're using nowadays? I do not associate with being a Tanika or.
It's not one your preferred preference. Or what is it?
Yeah, that's not my
pronoun.
Preference.
You don't like that?
Maybe tomorrow. Right?
It wasn't. All right, Mr. Todd.
Yes. How are we doing? Where are we going?
Well, I hear you had stuff to bring, so bring it.
Yeah. So, one of the things that, and you guys have talked quite a bit with me about some of this stuff, as far as the whole Alice Cooper thing and
true.
And just, God can be found in so many places and especially with us kind of being in our own little boxed in religious minds and stuff like that, we tend to think that he can't be found in those areas. And I guess one of the things that's really interesting for me is before you knew him, you had to find him somewhere, and not everybody went to church to find him.
Absolutely.
And so I guess to me, music is a form of art. So, I know there's some people out there that have practiced medicine. Like my wife's a veterinarian. And one of the really cool things that they ever taught them, and I think you guys may even talk about some of this on your show, is when they go in, when you're the doctor and you're healing somebody, God's going to do the healing process.
Right.
And the body's going to do the healing process. What you're really doing is giving the body the proper, I don't know the exact way to put it, but if you need rest, you need to rest. If you need this, you need that. And, medicines, stuff like that may boost that process, but the process is still God's that's going to take place.
Right.
And so the same way, you walk through an art gallery, you see all these beautiful paintings. It's like everything that goes on in our life is given to us by God, and music's the same thing. And it's like when we try to figure out a way to express ourselves, when we learn, when we gain all this knowledge, God's in there somewhere. And it's just a matter of figuring out where and how and all that good stuff. And so I started listening to music, when I was about 14 is when I had that moment of, I want to follow Christ. And I just did one of those cut everything else off kind of things. And it was like, in many ways, it was kind of detrimental because it was like I cut off people too, and the longer this journey has taken place and the more that I've seen, it's like we've been asked to find a way to relate to people, and we've been asked to find a way to have that dialogue and have that response. And it doesn't have to be in some kind of, robed, thou art, thus. In fact, it ain't going to work that way, quite honestly, in my opinion.
Just makes me want to go the other way,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And if it makes us want to do that, then how many other people out there does it make, them want to do that as well? Exactly. And so anyway, I started looking at music and started dissecting music and really, really seeing that a lot of narratives, and even some places where you would not expect it to be, there are chunks or nuggets of humanity in there crying out or asking questions, or maybe they've figured out certain parts of it and they express it in a song. And one of the places that I really found something first shocked me And we talked a little bit off air, you know, when Ozzy Osbourne was with Black Sabbath, there was some songs that were like, these guys know something. What, you know, what is it that they're, you know, trying to say, and what is it that they really believe? But the questions that they were asking were like
deep,
thought-provoking. And the further, you know, we were talking a little bit about genre, but the further I've gone down like the hard rock and heavy metal genres, those guys are asking questions. And some of them are even like angry and shouting at God. And it's like, you know what? He can handle that. He can handle that narrative. He can handle you having honest discussions like you would have with a family member or a close friend or something like that.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, I was just going to read those lyrics real quick, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more about maybe, you know, some secular places you guys have seen. And I hate that word secular. I'll be honest. I don't like it. I just think
I'm with you.
I think it's art. I think
secular tends to lead people to think that God is only found in very traditional religious places. And so I agree with you on that. The distinction doesn't need to be made.
And so we label Christian music, we label Christian entertainment, we do all this stuff. It's like, well, I'm not going to call the plumber and say, hey, are you a Christian plumber? Or, you know, are you a Christian cable guy, or, you know, whatever else? So it's like, why do we put these labels? It's that same thing we were just talking about. You put those labels on everything, and the next thing you know, people are running the other direction.
Exactly.
You know? So, but this Black Sabbath song is called After Forever. And I believe it came off their Master of Reality album. It's like in the 70s or something. And there have been a couple bands in the Christian, you know, persona or genre that have covered this song, Striper being one of them. So anyway, it goes, have you ever thought about your soul? Can it be saved? Or perhaps you think that when you are dead, you just stay in your grave. Is God just a thought within your head, or is he a part of you? Is Christ just a name that you read in a book when you were in school? When you think about death, do you lose your breath, or do you keep your cool? Would you like to see the Pope on the end of a rope? Do you think he's a fool? Well, I have seen the truth, and I've seen the light, and I've changed my ways, and I'll be prepared when you're lonely and scared at the end of our days. Could it be you're afraid of what your friends might say if they knew you believe in God above? They should realize before they criticize that God is the only way to love. Is your mind so small that you have to fall in with the pack wherever they run? Will you still sneer when death is near and say that you may as well worship the sun? Perhaps you'll think before you say that God is dead and gone. Open your eyes, just realize that he is the one, the only one who can save you now from all this sin and hate. Or will you jeer at all you hear? Yes, I think it's too late. So I'm like, okay, wherever these guys stand, they're asking the right questions.
Absolutely.
And the people that are listening to that have to start asking themselves some questions too. And, you know, you and I, Bree, have, you know, emailed back and forth a little bit. And that was one of the things about Alice Cooper's music that's always kind of been interesting for me, is there's a lot of questions in there. There's a lot of things that you have to start asking yourself, and you really have to soul search when you're looking. So anyway, that's kind of the kickoff. Anything you guys want to add? We can go down those roads. Anything to say?
Oh, I was actually, when you read that at first, before we got on, I was like, Black Sabbath's pretty cool. And then you said it was Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's even cooler.
What?
Because we've been watching, Chad really likes Ozzy Osbourne. And he always has. And he's like, he's always been misunderstood and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, the only thing I ever heard about him was when he bit the head off the bat in concert or something. And I'm like,
yeah,
that can't be good. And then I heard something else about he didn't know it was a real bat or something. And then I'm like, well, what did he think it was, a gummy bat? You know, like, what was he thinking it was? And then it was just, You know, we've watched him and Sharon and their son, what's his name?
Jack, I believe.
Jack, yeah, doing his Jack's basically trying to convince his parents that paranormal exists.
Oh.
And so because Jack's been doing the paranormal stuff. It's like Gates to Hell or something, Highway to Hell or Gates to Hell or something like that. And it's and so he's been, well, hello. And
I didn't touch anything.
what was that?
It was like a gong.
Oh,
like
that. I thought you were talking that Danny's comment. I was like, I didn't do it. I was over here messing with stuff, clearly.
And so we've been watching them, you know, to see Ozzy's reaction and Karen's reaction. And he actually seems like a pretty cool person. And, you know, they're reacting to each other. And, you know, he's very honest about their relationship and how they, you know, had a lot of hard times and everything while he was doing the drugs and everything. And then I guess it's a lot better now because he's not doing it anymore. And, you know, they're kind of living out their lives, basically. But when it's kind of an awesome thing to hear those lyrics when it was from him back in the day.
Yeah, and I think it was either the guitarist or the bassist that, you know, actually wrote the lyrics and gets credit for them, but Ozzy sang them.
Right.
So it's not like he
had to have liked it.
Right. It's
enough
you
to
know
sing it.
Right. And
so it's pretty. I mean, it's pretty eye-opening, really, if you think about it. I mean, just like what you said, it's not just, you know, at the synagogues and at the churches, and, you know, in those kind of scenarios when, and you know, in the only places to find God is in you. You know, you have, wherever you are, that's where God is, as long as you believe in him and know that, you know, you believe in him and call on his name, he's there with you. You know, it doesn't have to be in a church. It doesn't have to be at a temple. It doesn't have to be at a synagogue. It doesn't have to be at the cathedrals. It can be wherever you go. And so for that, and they probably sang that at one of their concerts.
Oh yeah, that's one of their
big songs.
It's one of their hits from back in the day.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, that could be your church, so to speak, when you go to those kind of things and they make you feel the Spirit. So it's wherever, you know, they mention the name of God in sincerity and humility. That's, I think, where God is. So it can be wherever you are.
Well, and Bree, I'm curious to know what you think too, because like, I think it also depends on, you know, what spirits are you inviting in?
True.
And are you testing the spirits to know which ones? I mean, the word tells us to test the spirits. If you got an uncomfortable feeling about it, it's probably not from God.
Absolutely.
You know? Exactly.
However, I want to make sure that we understand the difference, because for a lot of people who have had severe trauma, especially when it's related to religion, because a lot of people have been abused by religion, right?
Absolutely.
Then when you hear something, it can remind you of the trauma instead of what is being said.
Right.
And so, for example, and I'm going to go back to this since this is how we met. When I first saw the website, the one for the Song Ministry, what is it?
Song and Verse Ministries.
Song and Verse Ministries. Thank you. When I first saw the website, it freaked me out because of my own stuff, right? You didn't freak me out. The website reminded me of stuff that freaked me out.
Which is really interesting to me, because to me, that's tame. And when you go to the the Fridays with Alice site, I can see why that one might trigger somebody. But so I'm just saying, from my perspective, I see, you know, like you're saying, it's every perspective is different.
Right. But if we hadn't been able to carry on a conversation, right? If you heard that and were like, well, fine, and you went somewhere else, instead of trying to hear that I really wanted to know, it freaked me out. Telling you it's my stuff. I'm really glad you were able to feel that, right? Know that I wasn't attacking you. I was just trying to say it freaked me out. I was freaked out by it.
Mhm.
And because we've been able to talk beyond that, that's where it's been amazing.
Mhm.
A lot of people, when we first see them, freak us out. Right? But that doesn't mean that that is who they are.
Mm-mm.
Okay? And so I love that this music has been called, Satan's music. Rock
I
and
was gonna say
roll was the
Satan's.
devil's music, right? And
Yeah.
a bunch of that stuff. But the words you just read, the lyrics, it's not Satan.
Mm-mm.
It's actually very beautiful.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like you said, thought-provoking. It's deep. It's
Yeah.
very deep. And it seems intellectually sound, which is something that I highly value.
Yeah.
So I love that. And also, we need to shout out to Gabe Horn.
Gabe Horn, happy birthday!
Happy birthday from
Nice.
Res 1K.
Should I do my happy birthday song for them?
Sure.
Okay.
No, you should just sing it. Don't take the
I'll
time to
just sing-
find it.
It's right there. I have it.
She was ready.
I'm ready, Bree.
Fine, do it. Fine.
Freaking.
I just think it's cooler to sing it live because you're so good at it. Dollface. You all saw that, right? Dollface? That was Dollface. Do it again so
Okay.
Todd can see the Dollface.
Oh,
Oh, he wasn't even looking.
I was trying to look and drink and it didn't work. I guess it's like drinking and
Love you,
driving. Don't
Tanika.
look and. Oh no! Yeah, I've seen the doll face before. It freaks
Do you
me.
see the Dollface?
Yes.
Man.
She's having a nightmare. Well, happy birthday, Gabe. Happy birthday to you.
Cha-cha-cha.
Happy birthday to you.
Cha-cha-cha.
Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
Cha-cha-cha.
Now, isn't this the part where the staff has to all come out and give a cake to him or something?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice.
Have a good day, Tanika.
We love you.
Love you. Gabe Horn. Birthday cake. Peace, Tanika. Have a good day.
Flower.
Flower. Rose.
One of my favorite songs is from Elton John. It's called House. Have either of you heard it?
No.
Maybe. I don't
The
know.
words are, this is my house. This is my floor.
How does it go?
Huh?
Sing it.
But we were talking about lyrics.
I know, but I need to know if I know it, so sing it.
This is my house. It belongs to me. That is the winter. Those are the trees. I can hear them breathe. This is my bed. This is where I sleep. Started it low. That was the dark. Those are my dreams. They belong to me. You remember it?
No, either.
My favorite part is the chorus and the end, which is what I was going to just say to you. He says, and I sit by the window and I feel like rain. I want to fall from the sky and get wet all over again.
Oh.
The baptism, right? The rebirth, the Jesus thing. That's how it always went in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And the last verse is where he finds himself in his home, and it's his home, and it's after the baptism, so it's really in his body, so he's really home because Jesus is in him. And I don't know if that's what he meant, but when I heard it, it's vague enough that you could put anything in there, and that's how it hit me. And so, and I was homeless and sold all over the place, so like it wasn't useless.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if Jesus had a home in me, then I was always good. So it kind of made me think a lot more about making sure that even though stuff was being done to me, it wasn't my choice, but my choices were that he was safe here with me. Right. So I think we can find beauty and Jesus and the light of Christ anywhere.
Yep.
We are.
No, it's beautiful. It's completely. That's really what, my whole goal is with all this, because, I was scrolling down through some of the devotions, and I need to get back into it. And we were talking a little bit off air too, that, this is all jerry rigged, this whole setup. And I really had a pretty decent studio set up for a while where I could just go in, record them, walk away instead of having to set up each time.
Right.
But Nobody's Fault But Mine by Led Zeppelin. You read that song, and he's basically saying it's nobody's fault but my own that I didn't open the Bible up and take a look.
Ooh, I like that.
Wasted by Carrie Underwood, and Jesus Take the Wheel by Carrie Underwood.
Love that one.
Sober by Pink.
Sober by Pink. I mean, you could go down the list like we've talked about. The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. I mean, these are all ones that I've covered. Creedence Clearwater Revival's Walk on the Water.
I love that song.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Oh my gosh.
And Patience by Guns N' Roses. It's like, okay, if you get one of the fruits of the Spirit right in the name of the song, then it's probably one that you can talk about.
I love that song too.
So anyway, you get the point. And country music, man, you can
everyone, like, you can find a way.
Yeah,
there's so many.
Of course, here's another dad joke. You play a country record backwards, what do you get?
You get sorrow, sad. Oh, my dog came back, my wife came back.
Absolutely.
Okay, see, that one's funny.
It ends perfectly or something like that.
And the internet came back on, Bree. Which we haven't had any problems during the stream, but before the show, it was like,
I know, it was cutting out. I think somebody ran over something in the backyard.
Oh.
I can hear him with the lawnmower, so we're going to pray. He's all right.
Are they getting the cord?
I don't know. Might be kicking it around. I don't know. Working now, so we're good.
Cool.
So,
other ones? Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, when are you going to start doing them again?
It's a good question. I've got a lineup. So basically what I would do is a podcast on Mondays that would go out. And then each day there would be like a daily devotional called a daily downbeat, with the downbeat being what? The accented beat in any song. So it's kind of like an accent to your day, kind of thing.
I like it.
I don't know, hopefully soon, because the awesome thing about it is it's endless. I mean, the catalog of music, it's like, you can go on forever. I really kind of need so 7 people in this household, like 1,400, 1,500 square feet. And it's like, I get maybe a corner in the house to do everything I need to do. And so it doesn't quite always work the way I want it to. And so we're kind of in a transitional period of, trying to figure out where we're going to go and what we're going to do and all that stuff. And just getting this set up to do it all the time isn't quite as easy as I'd like. But I'm putting together the Telegram channel. The other thing was, and I think we talked a little bit about this last time, and I think even some stuff came out in the news yesterday or something about Facebook and all the stuff that they're doing. And it's like, where are we going to go? Is YouTube and Facebook going to be their platforms in the next few months, in the next year? And so it's like you're having to kind of build these channels out on all these different platforms that you think are going to be there.
But we don't know.
There's YouTube too.
Yeah.
There's tons of them. What if none of them are there? You guys going to still be okay? You're going to be tight with Jesus enough that you're going to be okay? That's the biggest thing. Everybody needs to make sure that they have enough strength in themselves with God. Because right now we're building it up with each other.
Right.
But there comes a point when there's that death rattle and all the demons and all the Satanists and everybody's going to do everything they can. That's when they have nothing to lose.
Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Right. And so we all have to figure out a way to be tight with God. So, the old stuff, paper. Do you remember paper? Anybody? Paper.
I have some paper right
It
here.
came from trees. That stuff.
We don't cut down trees. Sorry.
Well, don't make your own. I'm just saying, like, print out stuff so you have it. Make sure you have everything that's not tech. Because if the
and that
internet
even goes
goes
to the
out.
Bible. Did we talk about this? It's like, man, are there times when I use technology for the word? Yes. But would I rather have it in my hands?
Yes. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Totally. And
I love having like 6 different ones open so I can just go to each one, for the same verse to try to get somebody else's interpretation, because it gives you a different perspective, right? Something that's outside of your own, which is helpful in understanding.
Well, and you know what? That's something we can kind of spill over into as well, because I like the New Living Translation. I like the NIV. I'll go to the King James on certain levels in certain areas, but I think that's something we've got to get away from too. Is that whole mindset that this is the only version to read?
I agree.
100%.
I agree.
It's like let's look at it all.
Yep.
And
let's talk to each other about them. Not just read it. Expanding your perspective comes with how other people see it.
Right.
I have people who will send me books, and I'm grateful for the books. I love reading, but I would rather talk to the person about why they sent me the book, what it did for them, their perspective, how they see God. I want to know. So, Todd, on the spot, how do you see God? What's your perspective here?
Oh, wow. It's crazy, because I think in the different, it really kind of depends on what season you're in sometimes.
It does.
And, from the parenthood perspective, I see God as being a very patient father that isn't so quick to bop you over the head or bop you on your butt or whatever when you get out of control, but maybe gives you a stern look. And when you don't take that stern look into account, maybe the next thing you know is you're struggling in another area. It's I don't know. It's interesting to me how life unfolds, and the decisions we make somehow or another end up being God's fault.
Right?
How does that happen?
That's not how that works now.
Right. And so no, at this point in time, patient father really comes into mind, because I don't know how many times I have to count to 10 before I say something to the kids sometimes. And I can only imagine.
I only count to 3.
Well, you're doing better than me then.
I don't know. We don't know what's being said. Throw that out there.
Well, sometimes I feel like he must be counting to 100 with me, so it's like.
Maybe even more. We don't know.
Right. So.
Maybe like 1,000,000.
So how do you see him, Bree, on the spot?
I love On the Spot. It's my favorite. I see him, my best friend, but literally, like, when I was in the hardest times of it, he was right there with me. And right after, it was a gal that I called Flower. And it wasn't until I was free that I found out through family pictures that she was a great grandmother of mine that I had never met.
Wow.
And so I have a really personal relationship. I have been killed and brought back so many times through different experiments, and every time I died, I was embraced by someone, not always Jesus, but a lot of the times it was, but someone who was so loving, and it was spirit. And in my mind, in the book, it says that Jesus says God is spirit. So we worship him in spirit. And it was a very intimate, just like a kid hugging their dad. And then you have to go back. I don't want to go back, but I had to go back. And these were little tiny moments, but there were so many of them that I have no doubt about it. So it's very, very secure in me.
So like even in your trauma and turmoil, there were little linings of awesomeness.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I would fight it, because there were some times I would see the sun set and it was gorgeous, or the sunrise, just absolutely stunning. And I'd yell at it, "Why are you so pretty? I'm busted inside and you're still all gorgeous and stuff right there. I'm having a bad moment and you're still just, hello, it's great." And so, you know, I had my moments, but for the most part, it's been something that I've always known inside, because, you know, that's where my soul is, and that's the piece that went and came back. So,
wow.
yeah.
I mean, I could listen for days. I'm so amazed by not only you, but the two of you guys, because first of all, you know, there's not a whole lot of siblings out there that would be able to be this close, you know, on a daily basis. That's awesome.
Oh man, if we lived next door, we'd be sleeping over at each other's house every other day. Like, it's just
that's great.
Probably mostly her over here. Just saying.
Well, and it's evident that, you know, God has really covered. That God is, you know, given you each other, you know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's interesting how, you know, the seasons in our life lead us to different areas. Ever since, you know, the past year and everything that's kind of gone on with COVID and everything else, me and my brother have been almost on the phone with each other, usually on a daily basis.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's just awesome. You know, it's awesome, but sometimes it's a little bit disheartening that it took something like that to get us there. It's like, why weren't we already here? You know?
Yeah.
So I do have one question for you. So there's a song called "I've Got Friends That Do" by Tim McGraw, and it reminded me of the story of Jacob and Esau.
Ooh. Can I ask you to just hold on just for a second?
Sure.
Because we didn't get Jamilia's take on her perspective.
Oh, geez.
And we cannot not have that. She thought she was getting out of it. You should have seen her face. But she is not. On the spot is happening to all three of us here. We're in this together.
That's right. Yeah, sorry. We kind of like just went on a Bree and Todd show moment.
Yeah, we ain't doing that. You come out here.
I'll stay here. You guys keep going.
No. What is your take on it, my dear?
My relationship with God?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've always had a pretty close relationship with him. Mostly like you know, when we did the pray above the fear thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was mostly like, I don't know how to describe it.
Well, help me. What is that? What's the
pray above the fear?
Pray above the fear.
It's prophetic praying. It's like making sure your mind's in a place where you're not praying because you're afraid, you know, dreading. It's more faith praying.
Gotcha.
You're up here, and so you're listening to the Spirit and saying what He would have you say.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it comes out, prophetic prayer.
All right, I gave you a little bit of time there. Now, come on.
I've always prayed to him about like everything, and like even when I've lost my keys, and I'm just like, and I prayed to him a lot about that one, and I'm just like, okay, I know you know where they are.
She still doesn't have a thing to hang her keys on. Just saying.
No, I do. It's right there. I don't lose those anymore so much. It's more my phone. But you know, I'm just like, okay, I know you know where they are, and I kind of need them right now because I have to like go like right now, and he's, you know, and then I'll just get this idea, go back and check this area. I'm like, I already checked over there, but I'll go check again. And then they'll be right there. Or, you know, and it's always, and I find those as miracles because they weren't there before. And, you know, and it's just like little things like that have always kept my faith in him, and, you know, and just my ability to go to him about anything. But then when I learned like how Bree prays, it totally changed my perspective of everything. And then I also, like, after watching the movie The Shack, and that also changed more of my perspective, because it came to me about blah, blah, blah. The way that I perceived it was almost totally different than the way I always thought of him, because he's going to come to you in the way that is personalized to you and for you. And it never really hit home until I saw The Shack. And like when he came to the guy in the form of a female, it was because he needed that. He couldn't handle a father figure in that moment, and so he took someone from his past and portrayed as such. And so when I saw that, it just like, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so true. You know, and it does the whole birthday cake melting all over your head type thing.
Because you're reborn into a whole new idea and concept
Right?
of God.
Yeah, totally. And it makes it definitely more personal. And you know, I mean, he's our dad. You know, he's our father in heaven. And so when I, you know, and I've always said that, you know, and I've always portrayed it to the kids that way and everything, but it just made it hit more home for me because, you know, he's the Lord is in the details of our lives daily for me, Aunt Jacqueline says. Yeah, and it's everything, you know, and I know that I don't pray as much as I probably should, but I still talk to him, you know, throughout the day, and you know, he's with me all the time. I guess I could say that, you know, and what?
I just nothing.
No face.
You know, Grumpy Cat.
I do. Am I making the grumpy cat face?
I just
your beard.
That's just who I realized you reminded me of. Like, I mean that as a compliment because he's super cute, adorable,
Okay.
and I have like all the memes in my computer.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you guys. So, in college and high school and stuff, a lot of people wouldn't talk to me because my resting face makes me look like a bulldog or an asshole.
Oh
no! That's what I was told. You know, all the time they're just like you're very unapproachable because when your resting face is just like so stoic and like. So I appreciate the compliment about the grumpy cat thing. It makes, you know.
She's always been like, I love that cat. He's so cute.
It's the first time I saw it, so now I'm like, now I get it. Oh, there it is. Okay.
But it is funny how it
it's like just like right there, and it's right at the edge of your mouth.
I'm gonna have my daughter draw me as Grumpy Cat. She does.
I want a picture. Make a copy of it for me.
Yeah, you should send it to us.
That's awesome. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Could we share it on here when you send that to us?
Oh, sure. Whatever. It's all good. I'm not shy.
I love it.
Awesome. But that's pretty much the gist of it. Is just I try to keep him with me as, you know, as much as humanly possible, I guess. And, you know, and I know Chad does. Chad's praying constantly, like literally constantly about everything. And especially when he's down in that, you know, lovely hole he's in of the coal mines.
Yeah.
And he's like 3 miles under the ground or something like that. It's either 3 or 6, I can't remember. But still, 1 inch underground to me is just like.
I didn't know that was coal mining country over there.
Yeah.
Wow.
About an hour away from his work.
And
they go like under the mountains, and he's like, when you have all this above your head, it really makes you put things into perspective.
Wow.
Because he'll be sitting at lunch, you know, under the mountain, and he'll be like, this could come down at any time. You know, so he's always, you know, saying, you know, what is the word? Portraying his love? What's the word when you're saying it a lot? There's a word.
Repeating?
Well, no, not that one. But it's, he is. But that's not the word.
That's what it means when you say something a lot. You repeat it.
But he says it a lot because he doesn't want to not be there one day and then us question it if he ever did. You know, so he's very. But see, even that show, The Shack, it put more into perspective for him too with that, because it's more of like, you know, when you like with watching The Chosen, for instance. Have you watched
Love
The
that
Chosen?
show.
Yeah,
oh,
it's so amazing. And with watching that one, I love that they portray Christ with a sense of humor.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
do too.
with sarcasm.
Too
And
soon.
And blowing raspberries at the kids and stuff, you know.
Right? And he's just amazing. The character that they portrayed for Christ is amazing. And Bree says that that's the closest she's ever seen to be.
That's who Jesus would be
And
to
that's
me,
what I
is the way
always
they
thought
play
that
him.
he would be. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but see, they put it so personable and
Mhm.
so like human.
Relatable.
Yes.
Well,
And
and unreligious relationship,
yeah,
not religion,
exactly.
you know,
Well, what did he come to do?
Not
to
Why'd he
bring
come?
religion.
set us free from that crap.
Mhm.
Yeah, from all the crap.
All the crap.
Because everybody there still had the blinders on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mhm.
They were waiting for someone to free them from the Romans.
Right.
They didn't realize that their souls were in deep peril.
Yep.
Well, and
All they had
Nicodemus is
was-
one of my favorite characters on there too. The way that guy.
Did your heart just
Oh,
break?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
He was, like,
I've watched it 3 times because I needed to cry the 2 other times, and so it was perfect. But oh man.
The
Oh
angels
Yeah.
man.
belts and everything not being able to go and
Oh,
Well, and that, you know, on a daily basis, think of so many that are caught in that same religious bondage that, you know,
Yep.
status and man's standards, you know, have put,
Yep.
they picked that basically over Christ, you know.
yep.
Yeah.
And I think he was more afraid to lose his wife than he was to
Oh yeah.
not go with.
well,
Yeah, because
remember
that's really
that
what it
too.
boiled down to.
He had
you know.
family, just a
Yeah.
new grandbaby. Like
Mhm.
there was a ton of stuff. And what did he say to the father of the gal that with the wine gal? He said, I ask much of those who follow me. I ask little of those who don't.
Mm.
Right.
So I love it. I love it. It's so good. So
Yeah,
in
we need to
this
go
new-
back and watch it again too.
There's
We
a
haven't
fifth-
started
there's a
season
fifth
2 yet. Have you
episode.
guys
Oh, you
watched
have
season
to.
2?
There are 5 episodes. You totally,
Cool.
Fifth
totally
episode
will
just
just.
came out on Sunday.
We're bingers, so it's like, you know.
You want to wait till all of them are out?
Yeah.
Well, there's 7 seasons. They said on Sunday when we watched
That's
it.
so awesome.
So
And I think Mel
There will
Gibson's
be.
doing his movie too with after,
with him.
supposed to be after the Passion. No,
Oh.
it might be Caviezel again. I'm not sure, but they're supposed to do a from a resurrection on movie. I don't know what the name's going to be though.
That would be cool. I haven't heard of
But
that.
interesting. So I really do want to ask this question about Jacob and Esau, because this came up in a group the other day, and our pastor did a really good job talking about it, because for some reason humanity, we like to make villains and heroes out of everybody, and and then we put them in a little box on who we think is what. And for whatever reason, this group was just like Esau is the devil. He was just a horrible
The
person.
devil?
Well, you know what I'm getting at.
I know it's hyperbole, but that's like harsh.
Yeah, just like he was evil. He was the representation of evil in this story. And I was like, hang on a second. Because when Jacob goes back, Jacob sends all his people ahead of him, thinking that Esau's going to kill him. Number one, that's not very honorable. And Jacob keeps, his favorites, Joseph, I think maybe Benjamin.
Yep.
Yeah. And so by the time Jacob's getting to Esau, he has no idea if Esau's killed all these people of his or not. And I'm like, well, so number one, that's not very, very honorable. But number two, when he finally does get to Esau embraces him like he's, his brother, long lost. Where have you been? I love you. I can't believe.
Mm-hmm.
And this is after Jacob has taken the birthright,
Right.
And so my question to people in this group was, look, Joseph was present and watched that. Joseph would have seen the embrace from Esau to Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say that Joseph didn't learn forgiveness for his own brothers from watching what Esau did to Jacob?
That's very true.
Nobody
can say, but that's a very good example of why we shouldn't judge people.
Right. And so our pastor, I can't take full credit for that, but our pastor really got us to thinking about that. And I was just like, there's so many sides to every story.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the print. We don't get the movie. We don't get the body language. We don't get, you know.
You also don't get their thoughts.
Right.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
what the desires are of their hearts.
It almost seems like it's taken out of context rather than in context.
Right.
Sometimes I think that's true because we don't have both sides.
Exactly.
Right? There's one perspective.
Just like when you're reading a text from somebody, however you're feeling at that moment.
Hey, right? Crazy, you would say that right now.
Something that you say, oh, no, that's not what I meant to say. And when you're reading it, with however you're feeling in that moment, it can resonate with you in a totally different way than how they portrayed it to be.
Sure.
And
true.
So,
I think too, it's true. Oh, sorry. Not done.
Oh,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, if you're pissed off at something, you know, and you start reading it, you're going to think, well, why are they being so mean to me? I didn't do anything.
It could be true.
If you're just looking for an answer and you're questioning something, things could come off as a question to you too. You know, so it just depends on how you're receiving it. But also, if you don't start with a prayer to have your heart softened and your mind open and your heart open, it can be a totally different perspective of what you get.
I agree. Emotions play a big deal, a big part of how we receive information. I also think that when I make a mistake, because I make mistakes all the time. I mean, I have here. I do every day. I always make one mistake or 2 or 500. But anyway, you'll know somebody's heart the more you're around them. The longer you have distance, the less you have ability to see their growth. Right? So I have siblings that I haven't seen for years. Pandemic has nothing to do with it. Just haven't seen them for a very long time, right? I don't know them now. I know them from then, but I would love to get to know them now. And they don't know me now. You know, the same as for you guys. If you have siblings you haven't actually seen, spent time with, been in their presence, and you've been talking to your brother, you said every day, which is amazing. And that gives you an insight they wouldn't have had otherwise. But people change every day. They keep getting more bitter, or they grow out of bitterness to love, to love. Okay, those are the extremes I'm thinking for this little scenario here. Okay, we're going like this on it. Okay, this is the bar. This is love. This is bitterness. We can travel either way. But if you don't see a person, don't talk to them, don't visit with them, you don't know where they are. So wherever they were last, we have hope, right, that they're in the love place because that's where we hope to be. But that doesn't always mean it's true. So I think that when you're talking about Jacob and Esau, we don't know where his heart was the entire time. But for him to embrace his brother is kind of a shocking part of the story. Sure. Because we're led to believe that he's the bad guy by the people telling the story, not necessarily by the reading, okay, but by the people telling it because they were taught that. So when you bring it up and you say, but we can't know, we don't know. And then there's these little insights. I think that's perfect for the music you're talking about as well. Okay, I could play. No, I can't. I can sing hard rock, but I will always sound like a Disney princess singing hard rock. It doesn't actually go together, okay? But I can say all the swear words.
Let it go.
When I did the rapping, Dom will know, Jami will know. I did one of the Eminem ones, okay? I'm actually kind of proud of that, but it doesn't suit me. But there's a lot of truth in that song. Okay? So every song, there's an emotional truth there. And no matter where you are on that spectrum of love and bitterness, okay, no matter where you are, God can find a way to get into your heart, which is something beautiful about what you've done here, Todd, with the things that you're doing and with the effort you're putting into continuing.
Well, I mean, it is.
Exactly.
It's him. It's not me. So. And that goes for everybody, you know. There's a plan and a route that he has for us all.
Absolutely.
And it may not make sense. You know, writing a blog about Alice Cooper was the furthest thing from my bucket list or anything that I really even wanted to do. And quite honestly, I've wanted to give it up quite a few times just because I'm, you know, I just sort of feel like I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore.
Mhm.
And usually those are the times where he starts to speak even more loudly through you. You know, it because there's usually another force driving you that wants you to give up too.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
For sure.
persevere through all that. Um, there's a couple things that really in the conversation that I feel like for some reason we need to talk about. You mentioned Chad, Jami, about the shack and how it was relatable for him that God would come in these certain different areas. And I think, especially from a male perspective, and I mean this may be a female perspective too, but there's a lot of fatherly bitter,
Mm-hmm.
earthly father bitter,
Right.
and so many times we're blocked from the heavenly father by our earthly father and what we have uh, held on to baggage wise and things of
Right.
that nature.
Right.
And
Because
you really have to be able to, and like you guys were talking about the other day about forgiveness, you almost have to, there's no real almost about it. There has to be an earthly forgiveness to get to that next plane to where you can
mm-hmm.
really see who the heavenly father is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And that's a,
Difficult
a
thing.
huge difficult part of the journey for so many
Mm-hmm.
people.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I think our parents do actually represent how we look at God when we're growing
Mm-hmm.
up, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And so I would agree with you. I think it's everybody's perspective. I think the father, especially the father figure,
mhm,
would be the representative of God, since most people have given him a very masculine spirit field.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But any abuse from parents dampens and makes it hurt to reach out to
Mm-hmm.
someone who's higher up in the parental chain, if you will.
Right.
And so I agree with what you said. And it's amazing that a lot of these songs are hateful, seemingly.
Mhm.
But if you actually take time to break them down, like you have done, it makes so much more sense how they're just
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to.
Well,
Yep.
and with the podcast episodes, I usually try to ask the guests to come up with the song
Mm.
and say, "Hey, what song works for you? Let's talk a little bit about it." And if I have one to add, sometimes I'll add to it. But it's been funny because there's been a couple episodes where we didn't establish a song ahead of time, and Annie Lobear, who is the wife of Oz Fox from Striper, she works with a organization called Hookers for Jesus. You ever heard
I
of
know
that?
this. Oh, sorry, keep
Yes.
going. I know this.
So Annie was on the show. We talked. Great discussion with her about her book and all kinds of good stuff. And she comes up with "Let It Go" out of nowhere, and that was the song she's talking about. And she's like, "You got to get to that place. You've got to get to that point where you just say, I'm letting go of this, God. It's yours." And take that next step after you've let go. And holy mackerel, so it was like we weren't even talking about really music, and I didn't even know how anything was going to tie into it. And she, out of nowhere, just came up with that analogy. And so I'm like, okay, there's a song for the episode.
That's awesome.
Right? Because
Hookers for Jesus.
I had kind of picked a Striper song, which would have made sense with her husband being in Striper, but God led us in a different direction and used it completely differently, and really kind of targeted a completely different audience. I mean, we've talked about Barbara Streisand songs. We've talked about some R&B funk songs. We've talked about a
I like
lot.
the bluegrass ones. There's so many of them.
Yeah, and
We're
so
really
it's
in every genre,
yep,
every single one.
yep. And the only other thing I was going to bring up is, we're talking about music as a language, but it's really just about living life. I drive my wife nuts because she's like, you guys are in some kind of crazy fraternity or something, because you can just walk into an airport and next thing you know, you see a guy wearing, Alabama, Ohio State, Auburn, or whatever, and you can just start talking about sports out of nothing. It's like next thing you know, we're friends. And I'm like, that's just part of being able to, I don't know, connect, relate. It's like, you never know where that conversation is going to go next, just off of
You never
anything.
do.
It's true.
And
But if you think about it, how do little kids make friends?
I
Hey,
don't
we
know,
both have pink shoes.
And then they start talking, right?
Yeah.
That is the childlike manner of how to make friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, be childlike, right? Not childish, be childlike. And when we embrace that, then we can be friends with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like Maylee, when she was littler, she was like 4, and she's now 7. And you know, we would go and we would just, you know, see kids at the store, and she would say hi, and she goes, "That's my friend." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And
Oh
she
yeah,
goes,
yeah.
they waved to me. That's my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's so innocent and it's so beautiful, and
Pure.
at the same time, I'm like, don't talk to them. You don't know them. You know, with especially all the crap that we know now. But it's just, you know, that innocence about her is what, and all little kids, really, you know, and
there's no
Yes.
color, there's no this, there's no that. It's
that one.
you know,
Yes.
kids
Yeah.
don't care.
Nope. And even like she goes up to the adults that are working at the stores, or, you know, just people that walk by, and she's like, "Hi." I'm like, "Stop it." You know, and that's, yeah. And it was just like, because it just kind of scares me now with everything that's going around, you know, with all the knowledge that we have now. And it's just
true. But it's the fear part.
Yeah.
It's the fear part that is it's really important to know. Okay.
Yeah.
To know what's going on.
Right.
But the fear piece, we have got to translate into faith.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because when you walk out in faith and love, you're holding your child's hand, right? Skin on skin.
Yep. And I
You're
say
good.
that every time we go to the store now.
Right? Good.
Like,
skin on skin, y'all.
And I say, you have to hold her hand. Don't expect her to hold yours.
Nope.
You have to hold her hand. Whoever's holding it, if it's Chad, if it's, you know, Rue,
one of the older kids,
Bubba, or even if it's Zoe, you know, she's 11, but still.
Skin on skin, y'all.
Yep. I'm like, you have to hold her hand, her physical hand, not her jacket, not her sleeve, not her elbow, inside the sleeve. Like, you have to hold her hand. And so then, and she doesn't like to hold the hands of anybody that's over there. So she's like, well, around, like, get in the cart.
Still skin on skin, though.
Yeah, I know.
Gotta do it.
It's just aggravating when she doesn't want to pay attention. But, you know, but she's still, even till now, she just, you know, waves at everybody and says hi to everybody.
I still do it. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I'm 41. I still do it. I never stopped.
I do it to make people uncomfortable. Like
I
even in our neighborhood, when we're driving by, somebody's out mowing the lawn. I'm like,
oh my gosh. We would so be over there at your house talking all the time. Hey. You're outside. So are we. We're friends.
Yes.
Then we just stand there waving at everybody.
Yeah, and then it becomes a game with me and the kids. We'll just run to the window. We'll just say hello to everybody. Hello.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that little kid on TikTok. Have you seen that one? Hi. Good morning. Hi. Hello. He's just going down the street and just waving to people. Hi.
No, but that's adorable.
It is adorable.
He's like 3. And it's just so cute. And his mom's like recorded him while he's doing it. And so people will like take the sound and just put it to whatever, and they'll do like a little dog going around everywhere. It's like, hi, good morning. Hi.
I love this. Oh my goodness.
To answer
BRI.
To answer Moose's question, Stryper, I think they only did one album that they considered even quote unquote secular. I think it was called like Against the Law or something.
Yes, Chris has it.
Yes, but yeah, they've been Christian ever since. Again, I mean, they've. I'm not a huge fan. I like them. I like The Hell with the Devil and In God We Trust were my 2 favorite albums. But I've always respected them. I mean, great band.
Talent is talent.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, I think Chris loves GNR, like Guns N' Roses. Man, he is the biggest GNR fan I've ever met. Hadn't honestly heard of them. I know, under a rock somewhere, but hadn't heard of them since I met him. And when I met him, because I sing, he was like, "Oh, you have to sing this one and this one and this one." He's like, "No, you got to like butch up your voice." I'm like, butch up my voice? I'm sorry. Never. That's as butch as I get, you guys. Like, I'm like, no.
She growls
Like
a
you
lot
have
in a
to
lot of
sing
her songs.
sad, like mournful. I'm like, but I'm happy. It's like you have to pretend, but I don't want to.
Axel's got a crazy voice too. That's
Oh
not.
man, he can go
Yeah.
really high and really low.
You talk
And
about
hold it
somebody
out
to pray
forever.
for. I have no idea where Axel stands, but his father was a pastor.
Yeah, that's what Chris said.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So
Yeah. And the Patience one that you brought up earlier.
Yeah.
I love that song. When he left, so he left for a few weeks. And I bet you I sing that song 40 times a day, just all day long, just singing it because I'm trying to be patient. Come home.
Yeah.
But it was really good. Read that,
Definitely.
James, will ya?
Her grandson goes around the restaurant we were at, went around the restaurant they were at, and just went and sat down with them and started talking to them. He is so innocent and wants to make friends with everyone.
See, that's
So
that
cool.
pure love.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not this judgmental crap that we do when we get older. It's just this pure love.
Right.
I
love how contagious smiles are. It's beautiful. It's true.
right?
Right.
And
Well,
flowers. I love
and
your
I think-
flowers.
I think a certain amount of those diapers that they made making everybody wear is all about don't show your teeth.
It's
Right?
just not smiling at people.
You
'Cause
can't
So
see
I
it.
don't know if you guys know, but Florida is open for business.
Yeah.
So-
They have been
so-
for a while, haven't they?
I mean, yes and no, but like I went to Target the other day and like the employees weren't wearing them. And Home
That's good.
Depot wasn't yesterday. And even Publix, nobody's wearing them, which is, I guess, I don't know if you know what Publix is, but
Moose told me.
Nope.
grocery store.
Yeah, I knew that one. Thanks, Moose.
So, Publix is awesome. But anyway, people are starting to smile again, and I make sure to tell every single person I come into contact with, I'm so happy to see you smiling. I'm so happy to see
Yes.
our faces and this and that. And I don't know. I think that was a good portion of the attack too. It's an emotional thing,
Oh, for
emotional,
sure.
spiritual, physical,
Mhm.
mental.
Definitely.
It's
They're trying to get every level, every senses, every. I have a hard time hearing, so I read lips a lot when I'm in public. I had a big problem with that.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to talk to me, but I couldn't understand what they were saying because I have a hard time differentiating between noise. So I have to read lips. So I had got nothing.
And what's
Yeah.
weird is that even though like I didn't know that you were born deaf until just a few years ago when you told me, and I was like,
Well, because
"What?"
you were born after the fact, so
That's
it's
true.
not like.
That's true. But even so, like Dad always would look at our lips when we would talk to him, and so we always grew up doing that too. And so I still do that with my kids. Like when they're turning their heads away from me and they're talking, it sounds muffled. And so I'm like, you have to look at me when you're talking. And so when they look at me, then I can understand it better. I don't know. It's almost like a different language or something when they're talking, like especially with Maylee, because she will mumble a lot when she talks. But then I'm like, Kate, look at me when you're talking. And I'm like, what? But it's interesting how a simple thing like just covering your mouth can make it so that you can't hear them. And it's a whole sensory thing and everything. And with the stores, like the Walmart in Heber, when we went there, they were the most anal about masks when we'd go to any of them. And nobody has masks on. None of the workers. I think like one person that was working there had a mask on.
Oh, wait a minute. I think it was Idaho that just did like a huge mask burning thing or something.
Oh, that's
I
good.
don't know. I don't remember.
Well, but the one that
We
here
all
in
should,
Vernal,
though.
the one here in Vernal still has their masks on. So I'm like, okay, so is it just management then? What is it that's making them not have?
Oh, I could tell you. A gal that we know works in the eye department at the Walmart. And if you get the Jabberwocky, you don't have to wear a mask.
The lollipop.
Oh.
Yeah.
The lollipop. The Jabberwocky.
Yep.
The Jabberwocky, my son.
I can tell you that they have done studies on the sensory deprivation for people. So they will do without you being able to see the eyes of people, without you being able to see nose and mouth, just mouth, without you being able to hear. I can tell you because I was in 2 of them before, and I'm sure they've done plenty more, but I was in 2 of them before I was 13. And so when everybody started wearing masks, I was having flashbacks like crazy. And so just leaving the house, I mean, they were wearing them in their cars alone.
To banks.
Right. That was my favorite part. That meme
Yeah.
that said I'd never imagined I'd wear a mask and go in and ask for money.
Yeah,
but
and
he
even
did.
I remember taking a picture when we lived in Kanab. Do you remember taking a picture? There was a sign on the door that said, "No masks, no hats, and no sunglasses." And so it was hilarious.
Now it's like
when it was opposite now. And I'm just like, that is so counterintuitive. It's just like, oh, well, they had a mask on. I don't know. You know, if somebody decides to come in, I'm like, well, that does make a damper on it, doesn't it? But
I think it's hilarious.
It's hilarious.
It's antithetical. It's just, it makes no sense.
No, not at all.
I mean, you have to laugh. I mean, you'll go crazy if you don't. So
I agree.
Petra.
So apparently her mom won't let her listen to Stripper because they were too
Striper.
Let her listen
Striper.
To Striper. Striper.
You need because two for Stripper.
That's true. Because they were too hard of a band. Haha.
That's hilarious.
Petra.
Who's Petra?
That's a Christian rock band too.
Nice.
White Cross, Bride.
See?
Exactly.
Mark had the same problem.
Yeah. Her dad is deaf, and so he couldn't read lips anymore.
And our older sister is also like, she has hearing aids that, you know.
Yep.
But if you can't read lips.
Florida schools, that's good to know, because I'm so sick and tired of watching my kids walk into school with masks on.
Right?
I'll have to make sure that they let them take them off today.
Yeah.
A lot of the teachers in the classrooms, once they're there, they're like, take them off.
Just take them off, yeah.
But
it's just stupid.
Well, that's
the kids break my heart the most, seeing them go through this junk, you know.
For sure. Well, another thing that really irritates me is that they had to keep them on in class while they're sitting, right? They're sitting. But at the restaurants, they can take them off when they're sitting.
None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. To try and make it make sense is silly. And that's what it is supposed to do. It's supposed to keep our focus on why are you not making sense instead of on other things.
Well, it's just like everything else. Watch this hand, not this one.
Right.
You know.
Exactly. So. I have to go, you guys. But this has been phenomenal. Todd, we love having you here.
I love being here.
We need Grumpy Cat way more.
I'll have
so
Taylor work on that.
He's totally
You're just adorable. We love you.
I'm just going to put the picture of him up there anytime I'm on now.
No.
Have that be your little
it's a term of endearment. I didn't think you were actually. It's just because of the color of your beard.
No, it's hilarious. I've been called much worse. So hey, Grumpy Cat works. Hey.
I love you.
There you go.
Thank you for understanding my backwards compliments. It's endearing, is all I was trying to say.
It's all good. It's all good.
We understand. We're not saying anything otherwise.
I'm not mocking any of you. I'm mocking the ones in my head who are going, why you give compliments? People don't understand you. That's Jami in my head, by the way. All right, so we pray.
Yes. For all the same things.
Definitely. Anything extra you'd like to throw in, Mr. Todd?
Hey, patience came up a lot today, so I think there's some kind of reason for that. So
I like it.
Pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah, he's awesome, huh, Jackie?
And everybody on the other side of the screen.
Other side of the screen. I can't hear now. Are you talking? I just saw your movement.
Maybe I'm just Grumpy Todd. I should be Grumpy Todd.
No, I like you. I think Todd is good. I do.
Haven't noticed any grumpiness.
Nope, me either. Let's pray for definitely those who are sincerely lost and confused. Okay, I want to throw that out because there's a lot of people who have been disheartened by, they really put their faith in a lot of big names, and the big names have proven to be not good. And so because of that, and recently, I have felt this. I know others have too. You know what I'm talking about. You have a blank face.
Lee.
Ward.
Oh yeah.
There you go. There it is. There's light, Joe.
Like,
Okay,
through all these
people,
names on my
right? People that we've looked up to, and this could be
Yeah.
religious leaders, it could be political leaders, it could be just somebody you've known and has aged more than you, that you've had faith, and you find out some disheartening things. So we're going to pray for everybody who's going through something like that, to turn to God, to turn to Jesus, and give your pain over to them.
Okay.
We're also going to pray for the ones who have disappointed others. We've all disappointed someone. So we are going to pray that just a massive wave of love and acceptance, forgiveness just washes over all of us. Sound good?
Amen. Yep.
Okay.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Whew.
And blessings.
Oh, sorry.
And you're blessed. Bless other people's. Bless. Bless to Todd.
Bless.
Bless to Jami. Bless. Bless other people. I'm going to take some extras because I got the dentist here. All right.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Whew.
You Indigo.
Feeling the goodness. All right. We love you guys. We're going to pray. We keep your mom in our prayers.
Yes,
Moose.
for sure.
We bless Betty. And we love you guys so much. Thank you, Todd, for being here with us.
So much, bud.
Awesome.
And hang tight after this, okay?
All right.
And you guys all have a fantastic day. We will see you here tomorrow, 11:30 Mountain Standard Time.
Dom.
Later.
Dom. See you guys.
Yeah.
And now, the reason we got out of bed this morning for music and the spoken giggles, Singing Mama and Auntie B are our very own soulful